All right, what is up, the YouTube? We are back once again with another review. Hopefully this time there is not any voice audio, repetition. Once again, I'm sorry about that for the Mandalorian Grogu video. Hopefully, like I said, there should be no more of that. But if there is, definitely let me know. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about Punisher, One Last Kill, the special. As you can see, hopefully my gesture is good enough because I don't have any Punisher shirts on me at hand. So hopefully I'll go get them in the future. But other than that, we're just going to be talking about the Punisher today, which was a special that came out on May 12th, 2026. This was a week after Daredevil Born Again Season 2 came out. Once we go to the spoiler section, I'm going to kind of like talk about what's where does the show take place? Obviously this is a part of the MCU, so you get a lot of things going on. And real quick before we go forward, as always, my videos are gonna be split up into two parts. We're gonna have the spoiler free section, and we're gonna have the spoiler section. So right now we're gonna be in the spoiler free section. As always, you're happy to watch. But I will when we get to the spoiler free section, I will let you know. Like, hey, there's spoilers. If you don't want any spoilers, obviously just click off and then come back when if you're willing to. You don't have to, but if you want to keep watching the video, then I am letting you know there will be spoilers for this presentation. Um, if you're interested in how I go across or sorry, how I go about my videos, I do have a YouTube video, which is my introduction video. Definitely go check that out if you're interested. Other than that, we're gonna get back into this. All right, but like I said, we're gonna go over Punisher One Last Kill. It is the second Marvel special presentation. Um, like I said, it came out May 12th, 2026, right after season 2, like literally the week after Born Again season 2 finished. So that week afterwards, like right when it dropped, it had a bunch of steam off of the Daredevil show. This is special is about 50 minutes. I kind of said like 47, 48, you're including the credits, but basically 50 minutes. It's really short. It's directed by Ronaldo Marcus Green. And then obviously it has John Bernthal as the Punisher. And there's not a lot of it's not a big cast. So, there's people in there, but mostly it's focused on Punisher. Um but I guess basically a brief intro of this, or a synopsis in my own words, is it's a very small presentation of the Punisher, Frank Castle, who is going on a self-discovery journey of his fractured psyche and learning not only about himself but what he has to do and what his mission is moving forward. As Punisher and Frank Castle. Um, there's not really any current news on this one because, obviously, we're like 2 months later, but it didn't really have anything. It's not a movie, it's not a TV show. It was just a small little project that came out, in between Daredevil and then in between Spider-Man. And that's obviously the next time we're gonna be seeing Spider-Man. Or sorry, not Spider-Man. That's the next time we're gonna. Well, that's obvious. Spider-Man coming out in the Spider-Man movie. No. Spider-Man: Brand New Day is the new Spider-Man movie coming out, and that's the next time we're gonna see John Bernthal's Punisher. So it's just meant to be in between the two. If you're watching this and you're like, "Oh, does it explain, why he's there?" No. And then if you watch Daredevil, does you're like, "Oh, does it explain does the ending of that explain, this?" Not really. Again, I'll get into that spoilers when I kind of talk about how it relates. But basically, you can just watch this by yourself, by itself, and you're Gucci sauce. There's no, yes, the character shows up in both shows, but beyond that, there's not really anything that's safeguarding that. You're not like, oh my goodness, I missed something. I could tell, or at least for Daredevil, I haven't seen Spider Man yet, but from my understanding, he's just Punisher in the movie. He's not, I don't think it's gonna tie in like crazy sauce. But yeah. But basically, personally, I really enjoyed this. This was a really good special presentation by Marvel. I think their last special presentation was also really well, which was Werewolf by Night. It had a very unique design to it. I really enjoyed that. Um, this one, obviously, it has its own type of design. It's very John Wick esque, right? It's the Punisher. He's shooting and killing people, but also at the same time, it's very character based with Frank Castle. He is a person that is an ex Marine. He is struggling with, being the Punisher, but also, like finding his purpose in life, right? He's dealing with a lot of his past choices, especially being the Punisher and killing people. When that comes back to haunt you, like what do you do? How do you respond? Especially, being lost, right? If you don't want to pick up the mantle of Punisher anymore, like what do? Do you retaliate back? Do you just turn over and let them, kill you or shoot you, or even not even you, if it's hurting the people next to you, do you just like kind of turn away from that? It talks about a lot of these cool things in the stress, and like maybe in a show that it would kind of be I would feel like it could be dragged like, out a little bit, or, if he's in, like, another show, kinda like Daredevil or Spider-Man, you don't really get to talk about that, right? That's not really the place for that, right? Like, he's there to be punished, he's there to shoot up people, say his cuss words, but, like, here, this is a Punisher project. You really get to, like, actually focus on the things that make Frank Castle, right? And you get to focus on, like, what he struggles with, and, obviously you had the TV show that came out, that's a really good show. But I mean, I feel like this does a good job of just kind of like carving out a good chunk of time talking about it, not really, going too over the top, right? Like I'm not saying it doesn't like go below the surface. It really does. But I mean, it's not overstaying its welcome, is what I'm like really trying to say. There is like I will say some issues with it. Like, I do feel like it could have been a little longer, but if it was a little longer, just make it a movie, right? But also, I think for this story, it should be a show. Like I'll get into this when we get into the spoiler section, but to me, I feel like this special presentation very much felt like a pilot of a TV show, right? It's 50 minutes. It's kind of like how Marvel, the kind of the time limit of Marvel shows or episodes. You either got your 30 minutes, you got like almost your hour, right? Like Daredevil Born Again's 45 to 50 to an hour. You got She Hulk, that was like pretty sure like 30 minutes, right? Like, so you got the two you're working with. To me, this just felt like a prequel, or kind of like if you're opening up a comic and you read like the prologue, that's kind of like what this was. Especially like with like the villain and that actual like story wise, like that's all, like to me that part is left unfinished, but, like, to me, that's not what the story's about. The story is about, like, a character discovery, like I said. It's about Frank Castle, trying to figure out who he is when his mission is finished, right? Like, how does he keep going? That's to me what it's really about. And it does a good job just talking about that. So, like, I definitely suggest going and watching it. It's really good. I know, like, people might be like, "Oh, like, why do I need to watch it?" I mean, if you're a fan of Punisher, check it out, right? Like, if you like action, check it out. And it does have a lot of good action in it. Now, obviously, it's 15 minutes. We can't be going guns a blazing the whole thing, but like, I think it had, to me, in my opinion at least, it has a good balance of action and then emotion, like drama and blood and gore, right? And that's another thing I want to talk about real quick. So this is TV. This is rated TV MA. Um, so, do be careful if you're like a little kid, maybe watch with your parents or something, or go ask them. But I mean, if you're an adult, like, some people like that, some people don't, like, I wouldn't say there's like gore, but like when I was watching it and I was trying to figure out like how I would explain this to you guys, I think the best way to explain it is maybe like John Wick. Um, you know, it's not like crazy, like Terrifier level, but it's also not like Sunshine and Rainbows, right? It's the Punisher. You're gonna get dark and gritty. You're gonna stab somebody in the neck, right? Like, but yeah, like it's not crazy sauce. So like maybe if you're not really into that, just be like, okay, have you seen John Wick? Yes. Did you like it? Yeah. Then maybe you can check this out, right? But maybe if you didn't like John Wick because there's gore, then maybe sit this one out. But again, like it's a good show. It's a good show, and like it doesn't like I'm saying it doesn't go overhead with the gore. So just keep that in mind. But I did want to say it is TVMA, which is another thing I want to point out real quick. Like we'll get into it later, but I do appreciate Marvel taking the incentive to make a special presentation that is, beyond the status quo for the MCU. Right? Like a lot of things in the MCU are just like PG-13, right? Like that's kind of like, we can't make a kiddie thing, but we can't make a record rated R thing. So let's meet in the middle right there. But yeah, they did, push the envelope here, kind of like they had did like a few summers ago with Deadpool and Wolverine, which was also rated R. At the time of me recording this, the most recent San Diego Comic Con had just finished, and I don't know if this is an official statement or something that that just kind of got said in passing. But to me, from what I read online, is that Marvel's not really going to be focusing on any more R-rated projects, especially with the new Ghost Rider movie coming out. And I know everybody, I know everybody's going to say like Josh, like, you're gonna have your fans that are saying Ghost Rider needs to be rated R, and you're gonna have your other fans who are gonna be like, "No, it doesn't need to be," right? And they're gonna bring up the fact that both, Ghost Rider movies are not rated R, at least from my understanding, right? Like, you don't need it to be rated R. But at the same time, like, if it is rated R, like, it's gonna be really fun. But also, I think when you, try not to get so focused on this, but I have a point, I promise. Um, like, I think what how Marvel's seeing it is kinda like because if you've seen the schedule if you want to call it that, for after Secret Wars, all we have are Ghost Rider and Black Panther 3. Now, obviously, I'm pretty sure they're going to add more. They add a new Spider-Man movie and whatnot. But yeah, obviously, they're just or the X-Men movie also. They're waiting to get past Secret Wars, and they're going to have the crazy announcement, right? But for the sake of this argument, they're not going to have a lot of projects, and you can't just put out like a rated R project like right away in your new universe, and you're like canceling out a huge portion of your fan base. So I do understand that aspect, and I was like, "Oh, well, it's Ghost Rider. Everybody's gonna show up." True, but I mean, if you're going ham sauce, then maybe a lot of people won't show up. I mean, you know, gore is kind of a deal breaker for a lot of people, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't make Ghost Rider rated R, but I will feel like they're kind of like leaning on the side of no, right? And also another thing to bring up is that you know this special presentation I don't know if they're gonna keep making special presentations, right? Like, they're talking about Nova, the character, and how he might be one and it turned into a movie. They're talking about Silver Surfer to make a special presentation. I haven't heard anything else about that. So, I mean, I don't know how well this, like, project did, but, you know, if it did well, then, like, they might make another one, but if, a lot of people didn't tune in, well, then there's no need to keep doing that, and it might tell them that, "Hey, we don't need another rated R project." So, I do wanna talk about that real quick. I'm obviously probably talk about that later when we get to spoiler section, but I did wanna address that, that yeah, like, I think this was a good success. I wish Marvel would keep doing that. Like, I want them to keep making, you know, a rated R thing, a PG-13 thing, right? Like, not every character fits into that cookie cutter shape. So I do think we need to, like, I do think this is a good, like, this special presentation did a good job. So I wanted to address that. Lastly, where should you watch it? So obviously, this is not going to be in theaters. You're going to have to check it out on streaming. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could pirate it. Like, it's a good presentation. Like, you should watch it. Like, if you like The Punisher, if you just like Guns a Blazing, like, check it out. It's, like, really good. If you've seen Daredevil, and you're like, "Oh, that Punisher guy's pretty cool," definitely check it out. If you're a Marvel fan, definitely check it out. And like I said, I know a lot of people are gonna be like, "Well, like, what's the point? It doesn't add anything." Well, it's really good, right? And I know, like, even me, like, when it first came out, I was kinda like, I'll check it out later." I think if you sit down and you watch it, you'll find out that you really liked it, right? Like, there's nothing happening in it where you're like, "Oh, that's not Punisher." No, there's none of that. Like, it's a genuine Punisher I wanna say movie, but it's just like an episode of a TV show. Like, it's genuinely Punisher, right? And I feel like if a lot more people watch it, then yeah, we'll get more radar projects, but also we might get the Punisher show. Like, another reason I think they put this out, beyond all the other reasons, which we'll get into later, I think they're trying to test the waters to see if people would respond positively for a Punisher show, which I'm all down for it. And I've seen this thing multiple times because I've been saying I was going to make this video, and it just hasn't happened. It finally has. But beyond that, it's a really good presentation. So like, I don't mind rewatching it, and I would love to see a show like that. And like, that's an issue we'll get into later. But yeah, like I said, definitely go check it out. It's on Disney Plus. Obviously, it's a Marvel Studios presentation, so if you're like, "Oh, who made it?" It's Disney and Marvel. But yeah, it's really, really good. Definitely check it out. I really enjoyed it. It's really good. It's short. It's sweet. It's good. It gets to the point. The Punisher, right? All right, all right. So that is the spoiler-free section. Now we are entering spoiler section. So I'm gonna repeat that. We're entering spoiler section. So beyond this point are spoilers. We're gonna have spoilers for Daredevil season 2. We're gonna have spoilers for this, and then maybe for Spider-Man Born Again. Right? Like, I haven't seen the movie; it hasn't been out yet. But I don't want to say something and then it be right, and then you watch this and you're like, "Oh, you fuck Josh, right? He fucking ruined it." All right, but I am just letting you know that there might be spoilers. All right, so once again, we are entering spoiler-free section. So spoilers. So if you have not seen it and you don't want spoilers, come back when you're done. But yeah, anyway, or if you don't care, welcome in. Anyway, so basically, this special special presentation takes place at the in between Daredevil Born Again season 2 and Spider-Man Brand New Day, like I said earlier. If you remember at the end of Daredevil, actually, take see it doesn't. I've been saying season 2 and it's incorrect. It takes place at the end of season 1, but it was released at the end of season 2. Okay, so that's clarification, real quick. If you remember the end of Daredevil season 1, or Born Again season 1, for clarification, basically Kingpin became the mayor of New York, and he had this harbor. It was a free harbor. It was not a part of the government. I mean, it's like it's a part of New York, but the land that it's occupied by is not like U.S. government, like U.S. land. So it's a free port. Like Kingpin can own it, and he can do whatever he wants on it. Right? It's his own laws. So in there, whenever he was doing his Safer Streets initiative to get rid of vigilantes, he would just kind of like round up anybody that was a vigilante or helping vigilantes and kind of just like throw them in the free port. He was keeping them captive, and nobody could do anything to him because one, he's the mayor, he's crazy corrupt, has crazy power, and two, it's his own little chunk of land that he can do whatever the fuck he wants on it. And one of those people that was in here by the end of the season 1, was Punisher, because Punisher decided to go attack the anti-vigilante task force, which was a group of like bad cops that were working for for the Kingpin to take down some of these vigilantes, or people that helped the vigilantes. But when he did this, Frank being Frank, the Punisher being big dog, he went a little overboard. He's going, let me tell you something. But he was going a little crazy, and he kind of got overpowered. Which I know you're kind of thinking like, how did Punisher get overpowered? It's a lot of cops. And he like, yeah, he's dope, and he killed the Marvel Universe in the comics, but, like, give the broski a break. He can only do so much. And he had been fighting with Daredevil, like, all night beforehand. But anyway, he gets held captive, and then at the like, for a post-credit scene for season 1 of Daredevil Born Again, he calls, like, a guard over to, like, his little, like, cage, and the guard's like, "What?" And I think for some reason the guard puts his hand in there. I don't know why he ever did. And he ends up breaking the guard's arm, and he ends up escaping, right? And he gets out. So that's where this one takes place. That's like literally like I don't know how many days or whatever, because every time we've seen Punisher like in a Daredevil show, because you see him in the original show, right? He shows up in season 2. He's doing his thing. He's trying to kill more of the gang that killed his family. And then Matt Murdock, Daredevil, is helping him out legally, trying to, get him out, free. And then Daredevil's like, no, 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 I enjoyed it, right? Like, we've all seen the scene. And then beyond that, he kind of goes and does his own thing. He goes into the Punisher show where he goes and attacks more of the gang members that killed his family. And then here, well, actually, I guess in Daredevil Born Again season 1, he comes back because he's trying to get Matt to become Daredevil again. Because in between season 3 and before Daredevil Born Again season 1, or I guess if you count She-Hulk, like excluding She-Hulk, Daredevil is no longer. Oh, sorry, Matt Murdock is no longer Daredevil. Right? He's taking a break, but the city's kind of like kind of going poopy water. And then when Kingpin becomes mayor, like all shit breaks loose, and Matt, like the whole season 1 is building up to Matt becoming Daredevil again. And a part of that is Punisher coming back and telling him like, "Hey, Red, you need to suit up again," and he does. And every time, like, ever since season 2, whenever Punisher shows up again in another project, it's mostly to like help out that hero, and then he goes back to doing his thing, which is shooting and killing all the people, basically exacting revenge or punishment. Well, I don't know, I'm using air quotes on that. Um, exacting punishment on those who were involved in the killing of his family, and that's kind of like where this takes place. He's going back to his mission. He's killing that last family, right? Because there's always a little more family. Anyway, and then I guess kind of like just to clarify, like at the end of this, Punisher is still Punisher. So spoiler, obviously, he doesn't stop being Punisher, and that's why you see him in Spider-Man Born Again or Spider-Man Brand New Day. And then I really don't know, like why he's there. Like I really couldn't tell you besides the fact that Spider-Man and Punisher are into like a lot of comics together. Like don't get me wrong, I love seeing him in the movie, right? Like I love seeing Spider-Man interact with different heroes, but like story wise, I don't know why he's there yet. I haven't seen the movie, so whenever I see the movie, I'll definitely let you guys know. Whenever we're doing Spider-Man Brand New Day review, which I'm super excited for. I'm going to see it on Thursday opening night. But anyway, getting into this detailed review of the story. So basically, this one starts off with Frank in his apartment. It's kind of got he's got shit all over the walls. Basically relating to back his case, right? Trying to get down this last family, and he's doing sit ups. He's going ham, and there's blood all over his hands. He falls down, he's drinking, he throws up, and he looks himself in the mirror and he punches it, right? He's not very pleased with himself. That's kind of setting the tone here. And then he kind of like gets upset again, and he just rips everything off the wall. And I want to point out this wall is very important. It's very symbolic, and I'll get it obviously into the themes later. But I just wanted to clarify. I just wanted to signify this wall because the way you have to see Frank's apartment in this special presentation is as a prison. And on top of that, his mission is kind of keeping him in this prison, right? It's kind of driving him insane, right? He's got to finish this mission. Everything's kind of like he's so focused on it, it's like closing in on him. And then obviously, as we're going to get in more of the story, you find out the mission's over. So that's where we pick up in this at the beginning of here, right? He's killed the last family, the Nucci's, that were involved in his family's murder. So he's kind of, like going on a bit. I wouldn't call it bender, but he's kind of, what else has he got going for him, right? And so that's kind of why he rips off all the stuff on the wall. He's like, like there's no point of it being on the wall anymore. He's done, and so he's kind of just like in this distraught. He's in a lost state, right? And when he ripped all the stuff off the wall, you're thinking, oh, it's gonna be empty. Like it's gonna be an empty wall. Not true. There's a lot of, like, white specks, white marks on the wall, and I think that does a good job at reflecting Frank's, like, mental state at the moment of the or I guess throughout the whole, or at least, like, in the beginning and throughout most of the special presentation, right? Like, he should have a clear view, right? Like, his life should be should feel free, right? He should feel free, but he doesn't. Like, there's still these tiny little specks that are fucking with him, right? Like, he's not at peace yet, and that's what he's struggling with. But yeah, that's the opening, and then we cut straight to an elderly man by the name of. Give me a second. Barry, who is an ex-veteran. No, sorry, wrong person. Wrong person. We enter in on this veteran who is his name. Okay, sorry. I was looking up his name. His name is literally just Old Vet. But anyway, he is this old United States Marine Corps vet. Which Frank, if you don't know, the Punisher is a Marine Corps. He was in the Marines. He was a veteran. But yeah, so we open up on this Marine. He's with his dog. He's walking down the street. So real quick, this takes place in Little Sicily. So I just wanted to clarify real quick. But yeah, so as he's like walking down the street, we kind of hear like the newscaster saying like, yeah, Little Sicily's in ruins. There's complete chaos. People are going ape shit, killings, murders, you name it, crimes up the wall. Everything's going crazy. And then they bring up the Nucci family. The Nucci family, the head of the Nucci family got murdered, and a lot of his kids, the sons. Like I think there's three sons. They're like kind of saying like like the Nucci's are the corrupt family of the town, but like at least they're like keeping order, right? So and the way we emphasize on this is as like the veteran's walking down the street, he's talking with his dog, he's about to feed his dog. And I don't know if this is like a skinhead or just like a thug, but this thug guy comes up and he kicks the fuck out. Either kicks or punches the shit out of this veteran. I remember watching it by the third time, and I was like, damn, he knocked the fuck out of this guy. And he steals the guy's dog, and he's like fucking with the dog, and then all of a sudden, you see this like huge like truck coming by. And he like tosses the dog, and you're like so. It kind of sets the tone also for this thing. Like, hey, this is TVMA, right? Like we're in Punisher's world right now, so better buckle up. Like we're not gonna be playing with rainbows in here. Like we're getting serious, right? Like whenever you see a dog murder, like it's pretty effing serious. But anyway, yeah, no. So he ends up killing this homeless veteran's dog, and then the homeless vet. Oh, he steals the hat too. Had to clarify that he steals the guy's Marine Corps hat, and then he kills his dog. But yeah. Beyond that, we end up going back to Frank's apartment, and he is kind of sitting in the middle of his room again, right, his cell, and he's starting to lose his mind. He starts to see all of his ex-Marine buddies in the room, and he starts chanting them or reciting the Marine Corps Special Operations or Special, Forces, whatever you want to call it, whatever division Frank was in, Special Elite Forces in the Marines. He starts reciting the speech that he learned, which basically, like I'm a Marine, like I don't ever give up. Like I finished my mission to the very end. And as he's saying this, he starts to like, starts to like lose it mentally. And as he's speaking, like physically speaking it, he kind of like veers off course, kind of like around the part where you don't give up on your mission. He kind of like it's kind of like it's hard to describe, but because I don't remember exactly what he said, but he had like this necklace on him, and I don't know what the necklace was. It was just like a leather necklace, and he talks about how he like you don't quit, and then he cuts it off, because he's suffocating. Um, and as he's saying that, like all the guards, like or sorry, the Marine buddies, they come up on him, and mind you, during the special presentation, none of these people are real. Like they're real people that Frank have met, but they're not like physically there. They're just like figments of his imagination because he's like losing his mind during this, like throughout this whole special. But as he's doing, like as this is happening, they're making fun of him, like, oh, poor Frank, right? Like Frankie's gonna give up, right? Aren't you? And like Frank's like losing it, so he ends up grabbing a knife. He starts cut like because he has this huge like Marine Corps logo, or I guess the insignia tattoo on his chest, and he cuts it off. Obviously, this is a lot of things, right? Because like as Frank is reciting that part of the thing where you don't give up, he's struggling with that, right? Like with the whole mission, like that he had of killing off the last people of the Nucci family, or I guess everybody that was involved with his family's murder. Like, and he's finally finished. What's he got for him now, right? And that's kind of like what the issue is. On top of another issue, which we'll get into a second, which is does he still need to be Punisher? And it's fucking with him because he's finished, but he also needs to keep going, right? Like he wants to be at peace, but he can't because the mission that he started off with, he was just the Punisher. Like the Punisher was not a hero. He was just doing his mission, which was to kill all the people he needed to. But along the way, the Punisher became a hero, even though he didn't want it to. And so there are all these people that are trying to, make, even though Punisher has done all these heroic acts, they're trying to bring him back. They're trying to call him out to save them. But Frank can't do that. Like his mission's over with now, so he doesn't see a reason to be the Punisher anymore. But that's why he's struggling because he was a Marine and Marines don't give up, right? Like Frank's basically seeing it as, hey, that's not my issue, but at the same time, like I started my mission and it's over, but yeah, I'm still being pulled back into this world, right? Like that's a lot of what he's struggling with. On top of he finished the actual mission, he's not at peace. So there's a lot going on here. But yeah, so we go through that. Basically next, um, Frank's kind of like, like he kind of like very hastily grabs all the guns and everything in a bag, his like Punisher bag, I guess you would say, like his gear, and he kind of just like locks it away into the wall. And he kind of like he hides it beneath a U.S. Marine Corps flag, and he kind of just shoves it up there. And he like walks out, he puts his hood on, and it's obviously a lot of things. Frank's shutting himself off. Like, he's trying to hide that part, trying to suppress it, not talk about it. Because I mean, like at the same time, you got to remember, this guy's a war vet. Like this guy's a Marine veteran, right? Like these soldiers don't talk about their feelings, they don't express anything. And obviously on top of like all the other like issues that Frank Castle has, like that messes with you, right? Like if you don't talk about your emotions or open them, you just keep suppressing, pushing down. Shit's about to explode, right? And that's kind of a reason why on top of all the other things, why this guy's like starting to lose it. But anyway, he ends up like leaving his apartment or hotel, whatever you want to call it, and he's like going down the street. He ends up going to what's it called? Like the nearby coffee shop. And as he's doing that, he like walks in and the news channel is going on. And as he's doing that, the news channel is going on. And the news channel is kind of talking about how before this moment, they don't say who killed the Nucci's, but once we get into this coffee shop, they're like, "Oh, it's Frank Castle, the Punisher, that's killed the Nucci." So like this is kind of like clarification for you. But anyway, once we get here, we see like this little girl who is like the shop owner's daughter. And when Frank gets there, he's grabbing coffee or whatever. He sees the little girl, and obviously that's reminiscent to him because he's remembering his daughter, right? Like obviously he has his whole family, like his son, his wife, and everything. But that's his little girl, that was a part of his family that got murdered by like all the like the gangsters and everything. Whoever else was involved. But that strikes a chord for him, right? Like even though he's kind of like hiding himself away from the whole world and all the chaos that's going on outside, that still speaks to him, and that's a really big point that gets driven in this story. Even though you can like hide away, there's always something that like might bring you back. So um, next is okay, so as Punisher's leaving, because he's just stopping here to get coffee, right? Like this is not his actual destination. As he's leaving, he ends up going to a cemetery, and at the cemetery, we find out that this is the resting spot of his family. His daughter, his wife, his son. And while he's here, Frank kind of just like lets it all out. He starts talking to him, his family. He's like, "Oh, I can't do this, right? Like I'm tired. I don't want to keep going." He's like, "I made a promise to you, and it's over, right? I don't know why the world keeps wanting me to keep going, but at the same time, like he can't find any peace with himself, right? Like he was supposed to finish this mission, and yet like where is the finish line, right? Like you're waiting, like and it's not there. Like you've done all this work, and yet you still feel empty. And so he feels that the best way to solve this is to kill himself. So he ends up bringing a gun. Like for some reason, he ends up bringing a gun. Well, I guess that is the reason. Yeah, even though he locked everything else away, he brought the one pistol with him. So I guess this was kind of like his final plan. So he's ended up sitting there next to the grave. He's like, "I'm sorry," and he ends up about to shoot himself. But as he does that, he kind of gets like a flash of his family, and it kind of goes from happy, like he sees his son, he's swimming, he sees his daughter who's asking him to read a book, he sees his wife who's turning over in bed. But as the longer we stay there, it kind of like turns into horror movie ish, where the son's like, "Hey, why didn't you see? Like, why weren't you paying attention to me swimming?" Or the daughter's like, "Why aren't you reading this book to me?" And then like the wife kind of yells at him. She's like, "Hey, why aren't you staying here? Like, why are you leaving?" And then it turns into even the reality, which is all three of them dying. There's blood showing up where like where they got shot and everything. And as Frank's like losing it, his daughter appears in front of him, and she kind of like does like a little wave to him, and then he's like, he's like, little girl, like baby, come back, right?" And then she's just gone. I'll get into this in a minute, but that's kind of open into interpretation, like if it's a wave, if it's a goodbye, right? Like, but basically, she comes up to him and she stops Frank from killing himself. Um, as he does that, there is this really nice. Oh, sorry. Before we got there, I wanted to address before Frank gets to the cemetery. There's a really nice moment where he is walking, like obviously too, like outside of the coffee shop, and there's all this chaos going on, and there's gunshots, people being attacked, all of it, you name it. And for Frank, this is white noise, and it gets amplified by the fact that all the actual audio transitions into war zone audio, right? To him, that he's been here before. Like it doesn't matter to him, and that emphasizes more about Frank being locked away. Like he doesn't see this as his issue, right? Even though he caused it, he's not the guy that's gonna have to clean it up, right? He's not worried about that. But anyway, yeah. So that happens, and then he does the cemetery, and then now we're back. Frank's on his way back to his apartment, and but as he's there, his wartime buddy, one of the Marines I was talking about, comes to him, and he's basically talking to him. He's like, "Hey, as Curtis, he's like, he's fucking with him. He's like, I think he's talking about God. He's like, you think they'll forgive me for everything that I've done. He's like, I don't forgive you, Frank. And then Frank kind of looks at him. He's like, what the fuck? But I think at this moment, Frank's fine with it. Like that's a thing that like I'll get into also in a minute. Like Frank doesn't care about his actions, right? Like that's not the issue here. The issue is him being at peace, which I do think there is a point. Like there's a point to there's a counterpoint to like what I just said. But yeah, So, like, that's haunting him, and then when he actually shows back or as he keeps walking, he sees a version of himself, which is the Punisher, like Frank in the Punisher gear, like walk past him, and Frank's kind of like he's afraid of that, right? He's afraid of that side of him. And then as he's like about to get back into his apartment, somebody stops him like, "Hey, Frank," and it's Manucci. And she's like she's like, I wouldn't call it a wheelchair, but basically a wheelchair, like one of those chairs that you can use, like you can operate with your like hand, like so you go like you move up and down like a mechanical wheelchair. And she's talking to him, and she's like, "Frank, I need your help." And Frank's just kind of like, "What?" And she's like, she's starting off like kind and everything, and it turns dark. She explains to him that she is Ma Nucci. She's the mother of all the Nucci people that he killed, or I guess she's the spouse of the head of the Nucci family, and then the mother of all the kids that she killed. And as she's talking to Frank, we see how Frank kills all of these kids. And basically, what she's doing here, she's trying to humanize Frank's victims. Because a lot of the time, for Frank, the Punisher, he just kills people. He doesn't care. He doesn't care who you are. Obviously, he cares for like the one reason that you're being killed, but beyond that, he doesn't care about you. He just sees you as an ends to his mean. But here, Manucci, she kind of flips the table on him. She's like, "No, you're gonna listen to my story, and I'm gonna like humanize these people. Like they're not good people, mind you, but to her they are. As she's telling the story, she's like, "Oh, my son, he's the best detective out there," and he's like fucking a girl on the shift. You name it. Like my family wasn't perfect, but it was a family type of situation. Anyway, um, so we kind of see how Frank kills the dad, and then he kills the son, the cop, and then he was a dirty cop, and then he kills like another son, and then it ends up with at the last scene where the mother was Manucci's with the youngest son in a car, and Frank ends up like pulling the son out and curb stomping Broski. And she's like, I'll remember that time, because the time he died was 6:47, and she's like, I'll remember that time forever. And in this scene where we see all the Nucci's get killed, to me, it shows the Punisher's brutality, his bestiality. And when I say that, I don't mean the weird version. I mean it in the sense of like the natural side of you, like you're an animal. That's what I mean. Like especially that scene with the last son, because when Punisher kills him, or when he kills a lot of these people, we don't see his head or his face, right? We just see him like do the action of killing all the people, and especially like when he's pulling the last son out of the car, like it's kind of like he's like. He's, like, grunting and all that. It's kinda like animalistic noises, right? Like, he's like a hunter on his journey to, like, hunt the prey, right? Like, he doesn't care. Like, again, like, they don't care. Like, Frank doesn't care what he's doing, like, who the person he's killing is. He's just killing them because they wronged him, right? But yeah. And then, basically, she gets up out of her chair, and she's using the arm things to walk to him, and she's like, "You created me. I'm the new Punisher." And there's a lot to unpack there, which we will. But basically, she's like, at 6:47 today, I sent all these hitmen. They're gonna come after you. So she basically tell him like you're dead, right? Like you caused this mess. But anyway, Frank gets back to his apartment, and he starts like losing it again. He's throwing water in his face, and then he sees Karen. If you know Karen, she's the blonde lady. She's the one that's in a relationship with Matt Murdock, but she also was kind of had a thing with Punisher, if you saw the show, but also if you saw Daredevil Born Again season one, they kind of have like a thing going on. But anyway, she comes up to him, like obviously not really, but she tells him, she's like, Frank, you're not the victim, right? Like everybody else is the victim because you walk out on them, right? Like you can't even give your family the time of day. Like you had to go and leave again and go join the war. So like, don't be playing victim on anybody. She's like, you chose that. You chose to leave. And basically, that's kind of like fucking with him even more. And then basically, he gets stopped by like Karen telling him like, "Hey Frank, what time is it?" And he like looks at the clock. It's like, "Oh, 6:47, right?" And then basically they hear like all this. He hears all this banging and like screaming and shit going on from outside his door. And basically, he sees all these guards. Oh, not going to say guards. Like these thugs are attacking his next door neighbor, and like they're beating on the door with machetes, and they end up breaking in. And as they're doing that, like they're setting like I don't know why. Well, I mean, I guess they're just trying to cause havoc. They're like setting gasoline down on the ground and ends up seeping into Frank's apartment. and they let it on fire, and the fire ends up seeping into Frank's apartment also, like, underneath the door because the gasoline got to him. It ends up setting him on fire, and, it takes Frank a second. He's kinda like and, like, he, like, loses the shit, right? Like, he's like he's taking a second, and he's like, "Fuck it," right? Like, I'm not gonna sit here and let this shit happen anymore. And he ends up breaking the door, and he ends up killing everybody. There's a lot to go on here. Personally, the way I like, there's you can interpret it however you want, but to me, you can interpret it as, like Frank's past, like as Manucci said, his actions are coming back to haunt him, right? Like that gasoline is seeping through the door. His prison, which was supposed to keep him safe, it's pulling him back out again. And I think another way you can add on to that, like the passion of like Frank's like actions, especially with the fire, fire's obvious often represented with passion, overtakes him, right? Like when it comes to the gasoline, it kind of comes on like onto his body. And then also at the same time, it's kind of a rebirth. Because I'll get to this in a minute, but in this story, it's called The Punisher One Last Kill. I think this last kill, obviously, you can like be like, oh, it's Manucci, right? I think it's actually Punisher himself. I think the old Punisher dies in this film, and a new Punisher emerges, right? But we'll get into that in a minute. So I think this is the moment where Frank becomes reborn. It's kind of like a fire baptism. But anyway, he ends up going through there, going ape shit. He starts killing all the goons in there. Like he lets the mom and the kid escape, and for like the next like 10, 15 minutes, we see Frank go ham. Right, we see the Punisher. He starts shooting up everything, and he's basically making his way to the roof. Like he jumps out the balcony, right? Because they're like high up on the apartments, and he ends up shooting his way to the stairwell, and ends up getting all the way up the rounds of the stairwell, shooting people, and ends up getting to the roof. And he breaks the knob on the door, and he's like trying to figure out what to do. And then he hears the people banging on the door and everything. They come busting through. He's doing his thing. He's shooting them. They start attacking him. He ends up like jumping onto another roof, right? And then as he looks over, he sees Manucci just like kind of sitting outside, like on the street, like watching this shit go down. Because like remember, she called these people to come attack Frank, and she's trying to like she's waiting for him to come to get his comeuppance. And as he sees this, he's kind of like he's pissed, right? Like the Punisher is back. He's not gonna sit back and just let this shit happen, right? Um, but as it's happening, obviously they're still attacking him, and he kind of like jumps off the roof onto this like what is it called? It's kinda like what they use like painters use or like, construction site use. Basically, it's like a thing on the side of the wall. Like, I can't remember the exact name, but he basically falls onto the scaffolding, that's what it is, scaffolding. Basically falls onto the scaffolding and people are still coming at him. He falls off the scaffolding, like, onto the ground, and at that moment, Manucci's getting away, and Frank starts to run after her, but at that moment that Frank's running after her, he hears a scream, and he looks over, and it's, the coffee shop. The dad is getting attacked by the thugs, and at this moment, Frank's eyes are really opened to all, like, the chaos that's going on around him, and I do wanna address real quick, as he falls off the building, he's finally escaping. And what I mean by that is, as he started in this special presentation, Frank is in his cell, his room. He's held captive, and then even deeper, he hides away all his Punisher stuff in the wall. He has his hood on for most of it, right? And then he's walking around and everything. Obviously, even in the shot of him being at the cemetery, which is a very open cemetery we see later, it's very tight. All the scene, like the whole set itself and everything feels very tight. Even like with all the action and like chaos going around, it makes it feel like it's suffocating you, right? Like you're in the middle of all of this chaos. But here, like Frank finally like falls outside of it. He's escaped, right? He's no longer in the self-loathing thing. The Punisher is not no longer a thing anymore. Like he's back, right? But is it the same Punisher? Is the question. But anyway, he has this defining moment. Like, does he chase Manucci or does he go after and save the people in the coffee shop? And this is why I say this is a new Punisher because the old Punisher doesn't care about other people, right? Obviously he's a kid; he's gonna care about kids. But he would have gone after Manucci, right? But he decides to go after the family. He goes and he goes after the family. He like ends up shooting all the people that are attacking the dad, and then he goes in there and he shoots all the other people, and along the way, he ends up saving, like, the little girl, but he ends up saving the little girl, and she goes to her mom. But when we see Frank attacking these people, it's not just, like, cold and calculated. It's very, like, animalistic also because the Punisher likes this. Like, Frank Castle likes killing people, which is a part of that thing earlier, like, Frank doesn't, like, really wanna be with the like, he loves his family, but he couldn't, like, just he couldn't handle that, right? Like, his identity was being a Marine and killing people, right? And I guess you could really say like the Punisher itself was just kind of like an excuse for him to act on those impulses. But we're not going to get into all that right now. But yeah, I just want to point out he's like he actively enjoys killing people. Like at first he kind of like looks around to see if anybody's watching him, and then he just goes ham, right? Like, there's this big dude that like kind of like knocks him over, and then Frank kind of like gets upper hand like that, and he just starts stabbing the fuck out of him, like, with a pencil, or I think it's a pencil, like John Wick style. And he just keeps going, right? Like, you're like, "Oh, okay, that's enough, Frank." Nah, Frank doesn't think that shit's enough. He keeps going. But, anyway, he kills everybody that's in there that's trying to attack the family, and right as he leaves, the little girl, she comes up to him, and she's like, "Hey, wait, mister, I got something for you." And she gives him this, like, little flower. It's like a little, like, hand-drawn flower or whatever, or, like, pipe cleaner with, like, drawn flower, it's a made flower by her. Um, and at this moment, like, it kinda, like, makes Frank happy, but it also kinda, like, breaks him, and not, like, in a bad way, in a good way. And to me, the way I interpret this is Frank is finally getting, like, a real medal, right? Like, you go out in the military, you kill people, you do stuff for your country, you get a medal, right? But you're killing people, right? Like, you're not being a good person. I mean, you might be in the idea that, you're helping people, you're saving people, you're keeping the freedom of your country, but at the end of the day, you're still killing people, right? And here, Frank is doing a good action. He's being a hero. He's saving people. Yes, he's killing people. He's the Punisher. He's going to kill people. But his actions are justified by the means, right? Or at least for the first time, because everything else the Punisher's done has been in a selfish manner. He just wants to enact revenge on his like all the people that killed his family. Here, he's doing a selfless action. He's helping people. Right now, it might be not be the same way that Spider-Man helps people, but he's still helping somebody. And that's why I say, like, I think this is when Punisher, the new Punisher comes into existence. Like he's getting awarded a medal for his action of heroism. But yeah, so after that, he ends up walking away, ends up going back to the cemetery, and while he's here, he is he's sitting down by the headstones again. He's talking to his daughter, and he's kind of like, "Hey, I met somebody today. Kind of reminded me of you." And as he's sitting there, he kind of looks down, and oh, I forgot to mention this. He left a key at the first time he was there, he left a key at their headstone, which was the key to his safe, right? Right. But he sees the key down there and he looks at it and he's like, you know what? I think I might not be done. He's like, I think I have like one more mission on me, right? Like I think, you know, like obviously he wants to go and like be with his family in the afterlife, but like he's not ready just yet, right? But yeah. So after that, we kind of get, what is it? Like a time jump, but like not like a crazy time jump, it's just kinda like a little time jump. Like, they don't specify, but it is a time jump. But basically, a part of this time jump is we cut back to the veteran, and we see him, oh, sorry, not we don't cut back to the veteran just yet. We cut back to this, couple, they're kinda, like, chatting, whatever, because the city looks a lot more nicer, right? Like, people aren't causing havoc exactly everywhere. It's nice enough for people to walk down the street and not be like scared that they're gonna get mugged or anything. And we see that thug again that killed the old veteran's dog. He's trying to grab that and tries to beat the crap out of these family members. But right as he goes to hit them, the Punisher comes up and he kicks the fuck out of him, right? And he ends up like bringing a knife to his eye, like up on the flagpole. And the old veteran's like, "Hey, that's my hat." And so like Frank gives the hat back, and he's like, "That's not all he took." And so like as like the guy tries running away from Frank, the Punisher, which stupid. Who the fuck does that? It's the Punisher, bro. He's gonna get your ass. I don't know what it is. It's some type of knife. It like, kind of looks like a frisbee. He ends up throwing it into his back, and oh, as he's here, Frank Castle, the Punisher, he's in his new gear, which you see in Brand New Day. So he goes up to him, and basically the story ends with Frank killing the guy. right? The Punisher's back, right? And that's the end. But it's a new Punisher, right? He's obviously, new gear, he's got a new look, but this is a new Punisher. This is a heroic Punisher. Yes, he's still gonna kill people, but it's not so much in a selfish manner, right? Now, I will say, yeah, he's still gonna kill Manucci. He's still like working on his mission, but I think this is kind of like a transitionary period, right? And again, I don't know what's gonna happen in Spider-Man: Brand New Day, but obviously he's going to be acting hopefully in some heroic manner because that's what this special presentation, at least to me, was setting up. Um, like I'll get into more like later about like what I think the future for Punisher, but yeah, that's basically the story of the special presentation. And the story, like I said, is really good. It's very like character focused, especially on Frank, because it has a lot of good themes in here. Like obviously we get to see from the veteran, like the old veteran, like the idea of like what happens to a veteran when they come back from like when they kind of get forgotten. Um but there's also like another side to it, where you come back and even though you could be forgotten, you could be living a completely normal life, but you still feel empty, right? Like a lot of these veteran, like a lot of these ex-military guys, like they didn't really have maybe anything going on for them before they joined, and then they joined, that became their whole life. And what do you do when your whole life is gone, right? Like for some reason you leave the military, and what do you got going for you, right? And that was Frank's issue. He feels lost. And that's a big theme in this special. And I think for like Punisher as a whole, he's lost. When he's with his family, he's lost. And that's what drove him like that's kind of like drove the wedge in between them. Um Right? Like Karen says, like, "You're not the victim here." Well, I mean, he kind of is, but he's not really. Like, he's not completely, 100% the victim. Like, he kinda like, he didn't get his family killed, but, I mean, if he was there, instead of going out, do it, like, she going on his missions again with the military, then he could have been there to protect his family. Um, right? But, like, that kinda gets into a deeper thing with Frank, like, he feels lost, like, he feels like because he's a veteran, like, he's a Marine, and Marines do their mission, and what happens when you're done with your mission? You go on to the next one, right? And when you finish that one, you go on to the next one. And so, like, this family life for Frank, that's not really possible. Like, he can't see that as a sustaining thing. So that's why he leaves, right? And that's why we see when like, when we do the flashback, his family's so upset with him. They're like, why are you not paying attention? Because Frank's not there mentally. He's back off with his buddies, focused on that. And that's why when we pick up at the beginning of this, it's so hard for him because he can't just like let that life go, right? But at the same time, if he were to let go, then he has all these issues again. Right? Like here we're dealing with Frank being like a very like deadly person. Like that's who he is. He can't just give that up. But at the same time, he's already dealt with the past where if he didn't let go, he loses his family. So he's done his mission and he's trying to let go finally, but it's pulling him back. Like that's why he's struggling so much in the beginning. That's why the military people are haunting him because, like this is all he is and he's trying to give it up, but yeah, he can't. Yeah, so there's a lot going on there. And on top of being lost, right? We have the theme of loss, like people losing stuff. Like Frank has lost his family, and then Manucci lost her family. And I think a really cool thing about this special presentation is, although it doesn't have a lot of cast members, Manucci and Frank are like very similar, and that's obviously on purpose. But I love how they did that, right? Like you see, like the story starts with Frank, we get to the middle part, we see Manucci, and then like Manucci kind of does their own thing at the end. But we see them kind of, I want to say butt heads, but kind of finally meet in the middle, right? And obviously the theme of loss is everywhere in here, but it's not as big. But I think a really big theme that needs to be talked about is revenge. And obviously, revenge is in so many stories, but it's very crucial to Punisher because that's why he started. He's getting revenge on all the gang members and everybody else involved that killed his family. But what does revenge bring you? Right? Like, what does it truly bring you? And I think that's why Frank is empty. That's why he's lost. And that's why he needs to become a new Punisher at the end of the story, because that's where he finds his meaning again. Because like, yeah, you can go about and you can kill all these people again, but what happens then? Right? You're empty. And we see this so many times in hero stories, like with Batman, especially in the Dark Knight trilogy, right? When he tries to get to the revenge on Joe Kill, who killed his parents, right? Like he feels empty, and the same thing's happening here with Frank. Yeah, he killed all the people he needed to, but like they were supposed to be like a breath of fresh air, and yet it's not there. And that's what revenge is. Revenge is not a good thing, or at least extreme revenge, right? Alright, like killing all these people, yeah, it's gonna help you, like, for the short time, but for the long time, like, it's not doing shit for you, and that's one part. The other part is revenge is a cycle, right? Like, those people killed Frank's family, so Frank family is gonna kill them. Well, just like how we see, with the Nucci's, well, Ma Nucci was left behind, and she's going after Frank again, and we're caught in this endless cycle, right? It keeps going and going and going. And I think that's another thing, right? Like your actions, they have consequences. Frank, you are supposed to be like that, and that's why he's changing, right? Like that's why he has such an issue with being the Punisher again, because the Punisher is not a hero, or at least in the beginning, he's not a hero. He's a selfish person doing his task. And yet people are calling him back to be this hero, but Frank can't be that. That's not who he is. But yet, he feels like he feels like he's giving up and on all these people, even though he's not real. I mean, he is, but he's not really because in his mind, that's not who he is. He's not a hero, and that's why it's so important at the end of the story for him to be that hero, right? Because he finds some meaning again. He finds a new outlook on life, right? And, like, that's why I'm saying, that's why I was gonna get into, I really hope that, after he hope he does whatever to Manucci, and then he doesn't have to kill Manucci, right? He maybe just, puts her in prison or whatever. He continues to be that hero, and obviously, like, I think that's where it's gonna go, but just saying, like, if he were to do that, then he ends that cycle of revenge, right? He ends up finding that positive outlook on life and hopefully getting that peace. And that's why he's probably struggling so much with and being lost and not being able to connect exactly with his family. Because just because he killed everybody, that doesn't mean everything's solved, right? Like he still has all his other issues that he's got to deal with. But yeah, so there's that. There's also a bunch of other things. Like I think another big issue, theme that needs to get talked about in this is his containment. All right, like he's holding in his feelings. He's trying to hide everything away, like his Punisher and all that. And like that's another thing. Like where does that get you, right? Like I think if Frank like would have just talked to his wife and been like, hey, I'm struggling. Um, like I love you guys, but like like, I just feel like I'm so far away from you, right? Then he coulda got some help, but, like, he doesn't. He, like, runs away, keeps everything inside, and he runs away, and he goes and does his thing. Like, obviously, he loves killing, obviously, but, you know, he's not a very open person, and I think that's why he starts to lose his mind. Because as we see in the apartment, like, he's just contained in there, and he's not really doing anything, he doesn't have anybody to talk to, and he starts losing his mind, and he thinks the best way to solve that is just to throw it back into the even deeper. No Punisher, no Frank, that's not how you solve that. Um, but yeah, there's a lot going on here theme wise. I think like, that's why I was so intrigued by the story. Like, there's so much to like take from it that it's such a really good story. You can really go a lot of ways with it, right? But I mean, there's obviously a lot of like obvious ones, right? Like the punishment. Like, what is a punishment, right? Like even here, like I guess that's a good thing we can talk about real quick. Like Frank gets his punishment, right? Like, and you can even say that him being so distant and being so focused on killing it, like his family getting killed is his punishment for being so distant, and so like, and I wouldn't say that's a good punishment, right? Like I don't think most people would say that, but he's so contained in that other world that he loses track of what's there in front of him, right? And that's his punishment. Or I guess you could also say that since he's such a ruthless killer, his punishment is not being able to find peace, right? Like how can you find peace when you've caused like all this like thing? And that brings me back when his friend Curtis was talking to him, and he's like, I don't think God like would forgive you for anything that you've done. I think Frank knows that, right? Like Frank knows that he's not a good person. He's not like going out there every day. He's like, "Oh, I'm doing a good job." No, no. Like I said, Punisher's a selfish person. Frank knows what he does is not right, and that's why when he like in the Daredevil show, when he's talking to the anti-vigilante task force members, and they have the skull on their chest, they're like, he's like, "Yeah, you don't know what you're doing, right? Like you don't know what you're talking about. Like that's like what you're representing is not what I'm representing." And that's why we need a new That's why Frank becomes a new Punisher at the end of the show. Um, but yeah, and that's probably like, and that's what I was saying. Like his punishment is probably feeling so empty, and that's why I think when he gets that medal and he actually changes his actions by saving the little girl, and, so inadvertently saving his family, getting that chance to save his family, he gets changed, right? Right? Like he's no longer he's served his punishment. He's no longer being this he's no longer keep acting in this revenge cycle. He's, evolving, right? He's leaving that containment that he was stuck in. So, like I said, there's a lot of good themes here, a lot of good, things to delve into. Like, I don't want to be here all like the whole video, but yeah, like, I love the themes that were in this story for the Punisher. Like, it was really good. Again, it was only 50 minutes, and I'll kind of get into that when I get into the story in a second. But it was really good. I really liked it. And obviously, like I was saying, like you could see Manucci and Frank being the same thing, right? Um, and there's a lot of similarities, the differences, and I don't know. The themes are really good. I like the themes, you can tell. But yeah. So as for story, it's a very simple story, right? You're picking up here and you're ending here. Now, I will say, maybe you don't know who Punisher is, and I don't think you'd get lost, right? Like I said at the beginning of this video, like you can watch this, no prior knowledge, and it makes sense, right? You find out Frank's people like family were killed. You don't really need to know that gang group A, B, C, and D all killed him. You could just figure out that oh, he's on the last people to kill, right? Makes complete sense. Um, and I actually like that we pick up not him killing them right away. I like how we pick up with him lost because that's what that again. That's what I think the story's about. Is Frank? It's not so much about Punisher. I mean, it is. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not so much about Punisher. It's about Frank because at the end of the day, it's Frank behind, like underneath the suit. It's not Punisher, right? Now you could make the argument that Frank is Punisher, right? But I think that's what the special is about. Frank is growing beyond that. He is a new Punisher that is Frank. He's not a Punisher. Like he's not Frank who is a Punisher. But I mean, he still will struggle with that, obviously, right? Because he loves killing. But is that exactly why he's doing it? Because he loves it, or is he doing it now because he's a hero? So that's a different discussion. But yeah, I think the story is really good. It's like I said, it's really short and simple. I did like that, like I said, how we pick up kind of like in the middle, Um, and I did like getting to see Manucci. I like seeing the whole Nucci family and, obviously like the story part where we see her talking about it, to Frank. I thought it was really cool. And at the end where you get to see all the action, obviously, like you needed it in there, so you put it in there. And then Frank kind of gets that closure with like Carly, the little girl from the restaurant, right? He's kind of finally able to be at peace because he was able to save his daughter. And now he's able to move on. I liked it. It's a very transitionary story. Like we went from A, like this in between A and B, right? That way you can able to be used punish. That way you can use Punisher in other stories and kind of like either give him a show, have him do his own thing, or you kind of solved his issue and you can put him in whatever else next. But I will say a downside of the story is this is a special presentation. This was only like 50 minutes. Um, and I feel like this was, like, more of a pilot episode, or it could have been a movie, right? And so, like, I feel like the story doesn't get to fully get fleshed out, right? I think the Manucci thing, yes, it was fun and interesting, I like talking about it, but it wasn't solved, right? You're left empty, right? He runs away, and that's what I was saying, like, I don't think the issue I mean, sorry, I don't think the story is exactly about Frank getting, that final kill, right? Like, that's I don't think that one last kill is Manucci. It's the Punisher himself, right? He kills that persona and becomes a new Punisher, like a selfless Punisher, a hero Punisher. But yeah, so I like that part of the story. I just if it was longer, I think it would have been so much better. But yeah, as for themes, metaphors, we just talked about those. They were awesome sauce. Characters. So just kind of getting into the themes. Again, I loved Frank. I loved the character of Punisher. He's such like a tragic person, I love him. I love talking about him. I love seeing him on the screen whenever he shows up. Obviously, everybody likes seeing him shoot everything up, but I liked getting to see the emotional side here. I liked him struggling. I liked when he kind of like got that like I would say redemption moment by saving the family, and I liked getting to see him like act as a hero. I really liked that. I liked the journey he got on, even though this was like a 50-minute presentation. As for Malnucci, I think she was a really cool character. I really liked getting to see her try to get her revenge on Frank, the Punisher. And but like this kind of gets back into the story thing I was talking about. Like I wish we got to see more of her, right? Like there's only 15 minutes. She wasn't in there for the whole time, right? Or another character. I thought the old vet, he was a really good character. Like I said, he does a good job at representing how a lot of these old veterans, they can end up homeless because like the government doesn't take care of them, and then not only do they become a victim to the government, but they become a victim to society, right? Like, society treats them like trash. They're like, hey, don't look at the homeless man, or like, oh, they're just crazy, like, or whatever. But here, like, you get to see it and you get to sympathize with the person, right? So you kind of get to talk about that on top of the PTSD thing with like Frank and everything. Um, Last character I really liked was Carly, the little girl. I think she did an awesome job as a stand-in for Frank's daughter, right? Like Frank's daughter's no longer there; she's dead. But obviously he gets to save her, and that's where he finds some peace. I thought the characters were really good in the show. Like there wasn't a lot, but I thought the ones we get to see were really awesome, and I did like okay, I will say I did like seeing a lot of the other characters like Curtis, Karen. It did not feel like like a cameo fest. It felt like they were there for like a genuine reason. Like it made sense in the story, right? Like Curtis was his best friend in the Marines. Makes sense. That's why he's there talking to Frank. And then Karen, he's a love interest for Frank, right? And, like, that's a whole other thing you get into, like, if you really wanted to, like, you know, Frank feels empty, and, he tries to find love, but he's also struggling with the fact that he still misses his wife. Like, there's the whole different thing we get into, but we're not gonna get into it. But, like, I did like that we got to see the characters in the story, right? Because Frank is a complicated man, and, it was nice to see it. I like seeing all the characters. And like I said, didn't feel like a cameo fest. It wasn't like, Multiverse of Madness, like, "Oh my god, is that Karen?" Like, "Oh my god, is that Andrew Garfield too?" Like that's that's not what that was. Like, it made sense in the story, so I was glad that, like, I was very surprised that we saw them, and then I was happy with how they showed up. Alright, writing. Like I said, the writing was really good. Obviously, like, Punisher's a very interesting character to write, I'm sure. Um, and I think they had fun, especially, the people that made this, like, a lot of the people like, we'll get into this in later, but a lot of the like this special this special presentation wasn't supposed to be made, and then it just happened to get made. And like people like John Bernthal and everybody else that was a part of this, they really care about Punisher, and I think they really understand Punisher in the special. And I think the special presentation shows that. So I think the writing was very good, especially like with Frank himself, right? Struggling, what it means to be Punisher, and getting that whole, redemption arc. Like it was good writing. I liked it. I really enjoyed it. And like I said again, it's a story. Like it felt like a pilot. It felt like there was a lot more to the story. So like you could be like, oh, the writing wasn't the best, right? Like it's not Oscar nominated. Yeah, nobody said that. It was a good story. I really liked it. Again, and that goes to the pacing. Like this is 50 minutes, right? There's no time to be like, oh, let's take a second. Like it could be, but it doesn't. It's a very fast pace. Now, is there action throughout the whole thing? No, the action's, like, probably, like, in the last, like, what, 10, 20 minutes, right? But how we get there, I would say, is not dragging. For the most part, we're going from A to B at a good pace, right? You're seeing the struggles of Frank, right? You're sympathizing with him, and then when he goes apeshit, you kinda understand why. And I think once you get to that action, you're smooth sailing the rest of it. Like, everything is pretty awesome, pretty great pacing, but I think, like, a lot of people are just, like, wanting to see Punisher, like, shoot people. And, yeah, that's cool, but at the same time, like, there's more to the Punisher than just, like, shooting people and being badass, right? Like, he's a struggling person. So I think the pacing was really, really well done, um, and I don't think there's really an imbalance between, like, drama and action or any of that. But, yeah, story-wise, awesome. Awesome, loved it. Loved it. My only issue is it's too short. Wish I coulda got seen more, and we'll get into that in a little bit more, like, how I think it should have been a show, but yeah. Alright, as for production, the aesthetic, like, this was a very, like, gritty thing because it's The Punisher, right? So I think it fit that niche of being Punisher. Now, this isn't like dark blood and gore. Like that's not what that is. That's not what the show is. Like even though Punisher is a dark character, yes, they did it in a way that's not like disgustingly gory, right? So I do give him props. And I do give him props, like I said, for everybody that was involved. They obviously cared about the Punisher a lot. That this felt like a Punisher story. So I think it fit the aesthetic very well, right? Like this didn't feel like oh, I'm Spider-Man swinging through the city. Like it was Punish. It was a Punisher story, right? Like you're in the middle of Little Sicily, you're dealing with the chaos going on, but you're also dealing with Frank and his inner demons, right? And then Punisher finally comes out, and he's he's here for business. But yeah, like I said, aesthetic awesome. Acting. We're gonna talk about acting first. John Bernthal, you did a fantastic job. I'm just saying right now, John Bernthal, amazing, amazing. Every time I see Broski on the screen, awesome job. You always do an awesome job, and I love John Bernthal as the Punisher. Now, I'm pretty sure he's the only Punisher I've seen, but to me, from somebody that's seen the comics, he embodies Punisher and he cares about the character so much that he got this made that every time he's on screen, he's making you feel like that is the Punisher, right? He cares so much about this character. So I gotta give bro the props. Like, yeah, it's cool to see John Bernthal go ape shit, fucking cussing out all the thugs, stabbing them, shooting them. That's cool. Don't get me wrong. I love seeing that. Don't stop that. But getting to see him very emotional like that, very vulnerable, that was even better. I loved that. Like, when he's, like, freaking tweaking out in his apartment screaming, I thought that was an awesome scene. Like, I can picture it right now, that scene where he's, like, screaming while all the, like, Marine buddies are yelling at him. That was amazing, bro. Like, you could tell that Frank doesn't wanna give up, right? Like, he's supposed to be the strong man, but he's at the end of his rope, bro. That scene, or when he's at the cemetery and he's about to kill himself, like, he's struggling so hard for a man that's supposed to be so stoic and everything, and he's able to switch like that. And that's the best part about it too, right? Like Punisher he is the big strong I'm gonna get shit done guy. Under the covers though, under all those layers, he's a very emotional person, right? And I think John Bernthal does such a fantastic job with that. So I want to give him a huge round of applause because I love seeing him every time on screen, right? And obviously in Daredevil and Born Again, you don't get to see the same uh, Punisher. So yeah, it's fun seeing that Punisher in Daredevil. And, we're gonna see probably the same Punisher in Spider-Man. But here, it's such a rare moment that we got to see of him acting as Punisher. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So I wanted to say thank you, John Bernthal. Like you did such an amazing job. Like I can't not praise. Like all right, I can't not praise it. But yeah. All right. Next person I want to give a huge shout out to was another person in the cast, obviously, obviously. But I wanted to give a huge shout out to Judith Light. She was the lady that played Manucci. Ma'am, you did an awesome job. Now, Manucci did not have the biggest screen time, right? But I think in the time that she did have, she did a phenomenal job. Especially that scene in the middle where she's talking to Frank. Like she does such a good job at being like, a kind old lady. And then she gets up in Frank's face and she's being serious. She's telling him like, I'm the Punisher now. You caused this, right? Um, or like especially the differences between that final scene where she's like absolutely just like devastated that her like little kid, well, I wouldn't say little, her youngest son gets killed versus like just the like I wouldn't say like wreck, but like that's obviously what Manucci is in that moment. She's like a wreck, but like Miss Light does a great job at performing this. And like this absolute wreck on a vengeance tour, in front of Punisher. She's doing it. Like she does such an awesome job. So I wanted to give a shout out to her. Like she does such a good job. They were able to go from like when I say innocent, I don't know if she's done crime before, but like an innocent Manucci to just like a vicious Manucci. So like she did an awesome job. And again, she didn't have much screen time, but when she did, it was awesome. It was just awesome. It was awesome. So just yeah. All right. Next, I want to give a huge shout out to John Douglas Thompson. who was the old vet that we were talking about. I thought he did a good job. Also, he didn't have a lot of screen time, as we saw in the special presentation, but he did a good job, right? Like, you get to see him happy with the dog, and then that moment the dog is thrown in front of the car, like, he's so devastated, right? Like, and, like, I know what you're saying, like, you just have to act sad on the screen. I don't think so, like, right? You could tell when somebody's faking it, when somebody's faking being sad. He is so sad in that scene, like, you can tell, like, that, he was a homeless person on the street, and that dog was his only best friend, right? And now it's gone. Um, but, at the second half of the film, like, he does also a good job because, he's kind of like, well, I wanna say grizzled, right? He kinda has, like, that veteran vibe where, like, yeah, you're a new person in the military, right? You kind of like cheerful or whatever. And then as that time goes on, you're seasoned. And I think he does a good job at going back to that status quo near the end of the film, right? Where he's not really fucking around. And that kind of like that look and that attitude he gives the Punisher at the end of it when he tells him, like, kind of like basically kill the guy that wronged him, like, I think he does a good job, like, representing that right there. So I wanna give a huge shout out to him. So, great job. And finally, Mila, James, who played Charlie, the little girl, I wanna give a huge shout out to her too, 'cause she did a phenomenal job, right? Sorry. Like, the little girl, she doesn't have a lot of speaking roles, right? I would say she probably has either about the same screen time, about the same amount of screen time, or less than the old vet. But every time she's on screen with John Bernthal, like, they have an instant connection, right? Obviously, that's how the story works, but, like, just amazing chemistry between the two of them, and it was really awesome. Like, I think she did a really good job with not saying a lot and having very silent acting. Like, I think silent acting is not a very easy thing to pull off, and I think this little girl did an awesome job. So huge shout out to her. Especially that scene where she's giving Frank the the flower when she saved him. That's my favorite. That's my favorite scene. That or when she first met him in the coffee shop and she gave him like a smile, like wave. Like those are two of my favorite moments. All right, moving on. Let's talk about directing. I want to give a huge shout out to Ronaldo Marcus Green. He did a really good job here. I think he did, like, for what this was, it was awesome, right? Like, we got to see the sad emotional part, and then we got to see the awesome action part. And sometimes in movies and shows, right, or more so movies, right, like you gotta balance that screen time, that showtime, or the runtime, whatever you want to call it, right? And depending on the character, obviously, like, you're gonna have more of this than you have that, but sometimes, right, like, they don't match. But I think he did a good job here. Like, I think he was able to really capture Punisher in a way that it felt authentic. So I want to give a huge shout out to him. I also want to give a huge shout out to Robert Elswit. Sorry if I mispronounced that. But this was the cinematographer. I think he did a really good job, especially with the feeling of like kind of claustrophobia that I was talking about, like the containment. Um, I think a lot of the scenes in the beginning or the first half of this are like very like or not self, very like close up, or it makes the atmosphere feel claustrophobic, especially in the cemetery, right? Like when we're first there, we're like super up close on Frank, right? Um, or like especially when we're in the apartment, it's very dark and we're kind of like all up close, or like we're kind of like seeing the walls all the time. Like I think the cinematography here is really awesome. Right? Like, I only have 50 minutes, but I think with the 50 minutes that we had, it was amazing. And then, like, once he decides to become that hero Punisher at the end, and we're back at the cemetery, I love that we got to move the camera to the other side and pan out, right? Like, we're no longer suffocated. Like, that to me was amazing, right? Like, I loved getting to see that. I loved getting to see the Punisher escape and feel free, as opposed to like all the containment earlier. So, like, I wanted to give a really good big shout out to them. And also, like, both of them did an awesome job with the action, right? Because sometimes you can be like, the action's kind of like, right, or it's like really booty cheeks. Here was really good, right? Like for being what this is, like such a small project, it was really good action. So I want to give a shout out to both these guys who did an awesome job. Next person I want to give a shout out to is talking about those actions. I want to give a shout out to here where we at? Jude Poyer. Him and everybody else that was working on all these action scenes, just chef's kiss. You guys did an awesome job. Like I loved getting to move from military covert, you're very calculated and you know exactly what you need to do in this moment to versus like his savagery, right? And I thought it was awesome, especially when Frank gets out of his room and he starts like attacking everybody in very militaristic sense, like right, like let me hop on the wall, oh let me shoot like these two, and all that, like it's perfect, and especially as he's like getting up to the roof. But I also liked getting to see the opposite side where, like, he's not afraid to keep stabbing a dude with the with the pencil, right? So I wanted to say thank you to him and everybody else that worked on the stunt team. It was awesome. Um, now that's not everybody else we need to thank. I think we also need to thank Imangan Lee. Again, sorry if I mispronounced that, and everybody else that worked on the set because I think the set was awesome, right? Like, it's Little Sicily, just a small little town, but I think that's because it was such a small town, it worked so well for here. Like, yes, it felt very alive, but I think the small set itself helped sell that, you know, claustrophobic feeling. So I really, really enjoyed that. And I think they get a good job. I think everybody here did a good job with it being such a small project and only having so much money and resources. Like especially the set, right? Like you can't really go to like a big place, like if you don't have that big of resources. They did such an amazing job with such like a small time frame, small resources. Again, and I really liked how the set made you feel like suffocated, right? It's like, and what I'm saying is, I'm mostly talking about the city, but I think it was an awesome job. Frank's apartment, right, and all of that. Like, so, like, I think it was a really good job. I think also another good point I want to talk about real quick, for cinematography and like kind of that claustrophobic feeling or like theme is when Frank is in between the two school buses walking past the old Punisher stuff. Like, I thought that was a good scene too. So shout out to that. That was really good. All right. Next, now, okay. This isn't really like an issue to me, but I guess it would be an issue. And this is what everybody was talking about when the the special presentation came out was this scene, which Frank fell off the roof and onto another roof, and when he fell, I don't know what it was. He fell into like some metal crate or whatever. But when he fell, people got mad and they're like, "Oh, is this AI or is the CGI is really bad, right?" And before this, Marvel didn't have the best track record with CGI, especially with Phase 4 slash Phase 5, where they were focused a lot more on quantity over quality, right? And we had issues where in Ant Man and the Wasp and Thor: Love and Thunder, where we didn't have the best CGI. And people brought this up again, and to me, yeah, if you look at it, he looks like a video game character falling. Now, I was looking into it, and the issue was, or the reason it looks like that is because obviously John Bernthal did not fall off. It was a stunt man, and they just digitally altered John Bernthal's face on there. Now, if you weren't looking at it, like, you weren't looking for it, I don't think it's an issue, right? But Marvel fans always gotta point something out like that, and obviously when you get pointed out to you, you can't unsee it. But it's really not that big of an issue, right? So like I had to address it, but I did want to say real quick, if this was because Marvel rushed it to have it drop literally the week after Daredevil, like, if it would be kind of annoying because Marvel is supposed to have learned their lesson to not rush their special effects people, right? Like, I don't care that this was a small project, right? And it doesn't, we don't need to care as much. That's not true. It is still a project that you need to put effort into. Now, maybe it didn't have the best resources and funding, but like you can't just force somebody. force a deadline on people like that. Like they were like, and again, I don't know if they did. I'm just saying. Um, like, if it didn't if it wasn't gonna like, initially wasn't gonna drop right after Deadpool oh, not Deadpool, Daredevil, then what's the issue? Like, I don't think there's an issue with that. Like, I think Punisher is a pretty well-known name enough to, like, drop it and people are gonna go watch it, right? Now, obviously, you probably get your most views, riding the coattails off of Daredevil, but if that scene wasn't finished, then don't drop it yet, right? But again, supposedly Marvel learned their lesson, so I don't really know why. It was just an awkward scene, so I wanted to point that out. But other than that, I think like there wasn't really CGI in this film. Besides that, right? I mean, unless you would call blood or like gunfire or any of that. But I think like to me, it wasn't that big of an issue, right? Like I said, if you really focus on it, yeah, it looks like a video game character. But beyond that, like it wasn't that big of a deal. Really wasn't that big of a deal. But lastly, I really wanted to focus and give a huge thank you to everybody that was working on this project. Because, like I said, this was not supposed to happen. Once John Bernthal finished Daredevil season one, or he was in the process of Daredevil Born Again season one, he went to Feige or whoever at Marvel and he said, I wanted to make this. And they didn't give him much of a leash. They gave him like a very small budget and everything. And these people put their heart and soul into this, right? They did such a fantastic job. So I really want to say thank you, especially John Bernthal, bro. You are always here for the Punisher. When Daredevil Born Again came out initially, you fought so hard for him to be the Punisher that you came out with on Netflix. So you just have helped so much with bringing back all the Netflix and the authentic side of that Netflix while also being a part of the MCU. So I really want to give a big shout out to you, bro. Like you're always doing a fantastic job. Like, and you care about Punisher so much that you were able to make this amazing special presentation. So just like thank you and everybody else that worked on it. Right? Like it's not so often that we get to see a character. I would say more often now that we get to see characters that are really, or actors and actresses that really care about the character that they're focused on. Like with Tom Holland, he's doing an awesome job with Brand New Day, or Charlie Cox, he really cares about Daredevil, right? Or David Cornsweet with Superman, but maybe not everybody cares as much as as the other actors. But here we get to see somebody like John Bernthal who really cares. So I wanted to say thank you, bro. Like you bring so much happiness to me and other fans when we get to see not Daredevil, Punisher show up. So thank you, man. Appreciate it. And everybody, like I said, everybody else that worked on that. Really appreciate everybody who put in all the work, all the work to bring this to life. It's amazing to get to see how well you guys did with the circumstances. As for plot holes, there wasn't really many. Like I said, I think this was more of let's see how people react to Punisher on his own outside of Daredevil or a Spider-Man movie, so we can make it a show, right? I don't know how long Daredevil Born Again is going to run for. I know that they're thinking about bringing back Jessica Jones, maybe a Defender show, and possibly a Punisher show. So I would love to see a Punisher show, right? Like I said, my gripe with this is that the story was not long enough. Now, I don't think it should be a movie so per se. I know you're like, Josh, what are you saying? Like you're always talking about how you love movies over making something a limited series or like a TV show. That is true. But I think the story that which they were going to tell here, if you're going to make it a movie, it would have to be like a pretty long movie. And I think there could be some issues with that, but you could definitely make like a mini series, right? With Punisher here. Maybe not like a 24 episode series, right? Because I feel like that could drag a long way. But if you were to make a mini series here where you kind of start off, like you pick up here, you start off where Punisher is he kills or again, you don't have to kill Manucci. You can like put her in prison, and you really focus on Frank becoming that new Punisher, that hero Punisher. Which is why I was saying earlier, they should not backtrack on it, right? Like you're gonna ruin this special. That's why the special works so much because you're changing Punisher. You're making him better. Like you're making him a hero, even though he kills people. But yeah, like he's finally getting to escape that cycle of revenge and find that peace finally within himself. That if you go back, he's just ruining the character. But I think if you make like a mini series, that's something that's not too long, but it is long enough to let the story unfold in an organic way, while also tying up the Malanucci shit, story, sorry, while also making a new story and evolving Frank as a character, then I would be completely happy with that. I would love to see that. Again, I don't know if they're going to. Um, I haven't really heard anything else about Marvel special presentations. There's supposed to be a Silver Surfer one in the works. Don't really know if that's happening, and I'm completely down for that. I would love to see one, maybe with the Shia LaBeouf from Fantastic Four First Steps, where we get to see her officially, like in the beginning, become Silver Surfer, or maybe she's like saving a planet or something. Like I read a really good comic recently where it was related to that Fantastic Four movie, where we're following Shia LaBeouf after she becomes Galactus Herald, the Silver Surfer, and she goes to save this planet. It's a really short story, and I really liked it. I would love to see it as a special presentation where she goes to save this planet and she's stopping them from fighting because they're fighting each other. And she stops them, and they're upset that they stop. Like this alien, crazy powerful alien, comes out of nowhere and stops them. So they decide to team up together and try to, shoot down the Silver Surfer. And she like kind of just like eradicates all their weapons. She's like, "You need to stop. Well, I'm here to bring you guys peace. You need to stop." And right at the end of that, it was a really awesome scene. She's like, "All right, I'm the Herald of Galactus. Your planet's gonna die in like a few days, so better enjoy everybody." It's such a crazy like twist. You're kind of like, right, like you're like she put all this effort into save everybody, and then just Galactus is still gonna eat them, right? Like I think that'd be a perfect story for a special presentation moving forward. But again, what I was trying to get at is I don't know if special presentations are gonna happen anytime soon, right? Like Marvel Studios is trying to like really rush out of the multiverse saga. I don't know what the new MCU is gonna look like, right? And the whole Disney Plus thing, all the shows and everything. I know a lot of people don't really respond to them positively, so maybe we're just gonna go back to focusing on movies. But I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I would love to see, right, a mini story here, like a mini series. I'm completely down for that. Would love to see it. I'm all down for that. But again, don't really know. As for public perception versus my personal perception of this, I think everybody really liked this, right? I don't think there's really an issue with it. I think really mainly the only issue that a lot of people had was it was too short, right? And I think again, I think everybody has the same idea as me. This was just like it just felt like a feeler to see if anybody would want a Punisher show, and I think a lot of people do, which I'm more than happy for. Like I said, um, again, I think that the only issue that people had besides that was the CGI scene, right? And I really hope Marvel didn't do it, backtrack on what they said, saying they learned the lesson because, you let one thing slip, you're gonna start letting it all slip. So like, Marvel, be on top of that. Don't be doing that, please. Right? Like, just take the time. Like, literally, just take the time to just finish it. Like, it was such a small scene, right? Because like when you do that, then that's like the big focal point. Like we're no longer in a world where fans just love a good movie, right? Or love a good show. Like Marvel fans are so spoiled, I would say, that they love to find things to shit on. Right? Like and then when they do that, they're not appreciating what you're actually doing. Like don't get me wrong, if something's bad, then yes, you should address it as a fan. I completely agree. I get you. But if you're just nitpicking and being a brat like that, then you're not really appreciating the effort that all these people that are working on the project did, right? So, like in the Punisher show, or when the special dropped, everybody should have been like, "Oh my god, it was really good!" Not, "Oh my god, this weird 1 2 second scene looks really bad." Really? It wasn't even that bad, right? Like, if you ask most people, they didn't care about it, but the people that do care about it and wanna complain and bitch about it, like, they kinda take the they take it away from everybody else, or they don't really give a second to appreciate the work that's really done. Like, to them, that ruins everything, and I'm not saying that's every fan, like, don't get me wrong, I completely get it. But, like, to those fans, like, it kinda puts, like, a bad, sour taste in other fans' mouth, right? Like, it might push an agenda that Marvel doesn't care, which might not be true, right? They do care, that's why they make these projects. Like, yes, they want money, but at the end of the day, like, people like John Bernthal, Kevin Feige, Tom Holland, they care about the characters, they care about good stories, and, you know, if you just gonna nitpick and you don't appreciate the work, then I feel like, eh, you put a bad taste in everybody's mouth of like, "Oh, like, Marvel doesn't care anymore." And like, yes, there was a phase or passage of time where you could say that was happening, right? And on top of there being maybe bad writing and bad CGI, all these like people that nitpick and like to be little negative Nellies, I would say kind of ruin it for everybody else, right? Like I can enjoy a good Marvel movie, but no one else can because these little negative Nellies, they like to ruin everything. And some people don't do it on purpose, and other people do, right? Like they just want to just crap on everything. And I think when they crap on everything, that makes everybody else kind of like tend to not like it as much. And then nobody's going to show up for Marvel projects anymore. There's no reason to make them anymore. And I don't know. It's a bit. This is like a talk for a much bigger video, but I did want to address it, right? Like it's not that big of an issue. It was one scene that was like 2 seconds. It looked a little awkward and funny. Beyond that, it was a great project. But yeah, I think most people liked it. I really liked it. We kind of got a little deep there, but yeah, I really like. I always love Marvel projects. I don't really have an issue with any of them. Um, we're eventually gonna talk about all of them on this channel, so stay tuned, obviously. But yeah, I love this. It was a good special presentation. So yeah, I think a lot of other people liked it too. So that's that. Longevity of this. It's not really a film, so I can't be like, oh, longevity of the film. Longevity of this story. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's going in anybody's collection, right? Unless you're like a diehard Marvel fan and you love to have everything, like me. Like I like having everything on physical over there in my corner of all my because I have my in timeline order and everything. I would definitely go out of my way picking it up, but I think the average person wouldn't go pick it up, right? Like, cause one, it's not on a disc, right? Disney Plus does not put any of their shows on physical disc besides the few steel cases that they have, and I don't think they've done in that. Yeah, I don't even think they've done that with any of their special presentations for Marvel. So even less likely. Which that's a discussion for another time. Like I wish Disney Plus would just put out their shows on, and I wish every streaming service would do that. Like I know HBO Max does it, so shout out to them. But I wish other streaming services would just like put out physical release of their projects. But like I know why they don't, right? Then there's no point to have the streaming service anymore. But that's stupid. But yes, like I don't know if it's gonna go to anybody's collection. Streaming legend, I don't know. I don't know because this is like a short story, like I said, kind of like not really a big thing. Like it doesn't really add anything to the MCU besides like character growth for Punisher. Maybe like if you love Marvel, then like yeah, it might be like a really good story for you that you can go back and watch again. Especially if you love Punisher. Like I definitely see people going back and like, oh yeah, let's watch it again, right? Or like maybe especially with Spider-Man coming out again, it might be a streaming legend for a while because people like might watch it and they might think, "Oh my god, I really like Punisher," or "I never met this guy Punisher before. I really like that. I want to go watch other things." And they'll watch the mini because it's like 50 minutes, and they're like, "Oh, I really like that." Right? Like, so I think maybe in those aspects it might be a streaming legend, but beyond that, it's probably gonna be like a niche favorite. Right? It's not gonna be forgotten. It's not booty cheeks. It's really good. But for everybody that did like it, they like it, right? That's why I said I think people should give it the chance and go watch it. But for the people that don't, they're not gonna watch it, right? But the people that did watch it, they liked it, and they'll watch it again, right? I think it has a lot of rewatchability, especially if somebody like me, if you enjoyed like what they're talking about, right? If you enjoyed like the little things with Frank, right? Now, if you just only care about action, I would say you probably wouldn't enjoy it that much, right? Like if you're expecting John Wick here, that's not what this is. It's a little different, right? But yeah, for the most part, I would say people are probably gonna have find this as a streaming legend. Yeah. Oh no, sorry. Niche favorite. People are gonna find this as a niche favorite. So, yeah. So now moving on to one of my favorite parts about these videos is I talk about my three favorite parts. As you know, shot, scene, and quote. So my favorite shot of this film was when Charlie, the little girl, is giving Frank the flower, like that kind of like look down and him grabbing it. It was a really good shot. Again, it says a lot there because Frank is kind of like a brutal character. He's a very like animalistic character, and it's kind of nice. It's kind of like that Frankenstein moment where like the little girl gives Frankenstein a flower, kind of like something like that, where like this monster is being given a flower, like a sweet thing by this tiny innocent little creature or little girl. But yeah, I love getting to see that, and especially like amplified by like the story that's actually taking place here, right? Like this monster of a character that has so much like trauma and baggage and regrets finally gets to kind of like let that all go by the wayside when this little girl is saying like, "Hey, you're doing a good job." So that's my favorite shot. That was a really good shot. As for my favorite scene, it's gonna be the one with Manucci and Frank. Right? I liked getting not only to see like the Punisher be like a complete brutal beast, like annihilating the Nucci's, but I liked the fact that we got to see Manucci, try to make humanize the victims. That was really cool. I liked seeing Manucci become bitter and kind of like a mirrored, like warped version of, or like I would say another Punisher, I guess. Like that was really cool. And I also like getting to see how Punisher's actions come back to kind of bite him in the ass, right? Like, yeah, it's cool seeing Punisher like blow shit up, shoot people down, but at the end of the day, that revenge is gonna come back to you, right? It doesn't matter if you're a hero, um, it's still gonna come back. So I thought that was really cool to see. That was my favorite shot. As for my favorite quote, I have those. I have two. My first one will be the one that is in the beginning of the film when Frank is reciting that Marine quote. It's the one. It's kind of near the end where it's "I shall never quit. To quit, to surrender is to fail," and that's right before he kind of like starts losing it. I think that is kind of like at the core of what's going on here with Frank, especially in the beginning, right? Um, you shall never quit, right? Like he doesn't want to quit, his mission, but at the same time, like his mission's finished, right? But he still feels empty and not at peace. So, like what should he do now, right? Or like how can he still continue if that's not really who he wants to be anymore, right? And that's why we have Punisher involved, right? That's really cool. Um, Also, my second favorite quote is from kind of like maybe it was right when Frank goes the first time to the cemetery. It's I don't know what to do. I'm fucking tired. I'm tired. Again, so we're talking about Frank's issues here, and how he's tired and he wants to just like move on from this world and be with his family, but he doesn't know how to get there. He feels still lost, like literally right next to his freaking family, his tombstone. He feels so like lost from them, and like yeah, you know the family's not physically there. But I mean, for somebody that doesn't have their family member, like that's like the next closest thing. And even there, he feels like super lost and disconnected from them. So like, I really those are my favorite quotes. Those are my favorite shots, favorite scenes. So yeah. But yeah, as a conclusion, this was really good. If you really liked The Punisher, if you like Marvel, if you like The Defenders, go check it out. It's an awesome, awesome presentation, right? Um, I liked it. I really want to see more um, special presentations from Marvel moving forward, right? And now maybe they can adjust kind of like the format of this, right? But then you kind of get in the discussion of like, okay, well, if we're gonna make it this long, just make it a movie, right? I don't know. I want to see more. Like I said, that cool like Silver Surfer story that I really liked from the comic I got. That was a really cool one. That would be a really cool Silver Surfer special presentation. And then, like I said, with Nova, I think that one was supposed to be a special presentation and just got turned into a movie. So I really don't know. Again, like I said, I don't know the future of Disney Plus shows, Marvel, and all that. But yeah, like I said, this was a really, really good um, special presentation, special story for Punisher. And I love that everybody put in so much effort and care and love into this. Thank you guys so much. And finally, what people might be waiting for, or what I'm waiting for, is the Joshua scale rating. So what do I rank this? I rank this a 3, and I really enjoyed this. 3 out of 5. You guys remember 0 to 5 halves included. It's a 3. It's really solid. It's really good. Obviously, nothing's a 5. I never grade anything a 5, but this was really good. I really liked it. Obviously, it's really short, so I can't be too generous. Is and I wish I could have seen more, but for the most part, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. So definitely, guys, go check it out. But beyond that, so we're finally coming back to doing some more reviews. I should have some later for you guys this week. I'm really excited for that. We're doing Backrooms next. Really excited for that one. We're still kind of behind schedule a little bit, but really, really getting back there. So I'm really excited that we're able to, start pushing these out again. We're starting having more videos too. I'm gonna have like my like getting to know me more as a movie fan, right? Or movie enthusiast, whatever you want to call it. Like that sounds pretty like very cinephile esque, but I I didn't mean for it to sound like that. But yes, I'm a fan of movies, but like I take it to like another level, right? Like I'm not trying to sound like cocky or anything like that, but like I do appreciate them at a deeper level than like maybe somebody else that doesn't. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Like you can appreciate movies however you want to, right? We're not gonna. I'm not trying to put you down or anything. I'm just saying I appreciate movies a lot, and I love them. So right, I want to talk about them here. So like a new idea I got coming soon is like my top 10 actors, directors, genres, actresses. So I'm excited to show you guys that one. Like I said, in here we're gonna be doing some of the Marvel stuff going forward, some of the DC stuff, a bunch of other stuff. Kind of like how other YouTubers have it, where like if a movie's dropping, they might do like a one or two movies beforehand, like kind of related to that. We're gonna be having stuff like that. I wish we could watch all the Marvel stuff before Doomsday. That's not happening. But maybe we'll start hopefully, and we'll be able to finish and catch up before Secret Wars. So that would be achievable, maybe. But we're not just gonna do like everything Marvel right now, right? Like we're gonna put in other stuff. Like we're gonna watch Obsession soon. We're gonna do an Odyssey review, which is a great movie. We're gonna do a Spider-Man review. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming to the channel. I'm really excited. Again, like I always say, these are just my opinions on these like whatever we're watching, movies, shows, whatever you name it. So if you don't agree, then like let me know. Be like, hey Josh, I don't really agree with that. I kind of see it as this way. Like let me know. I'm always down to talk about it. I love talking about film with people, TV shows, stories, characters, you name it, themes. Or maybe you saw something, you're like, hey Josh, I really like what you said, but you want to add on to it. Let me know, bro. I'm so down for that. I'm so down to hear what you guys got to say. But yeah, I was happy to get this video done. I hope you guys enjoy it. I can't wait to see you guys next time. Thank you, YouTube.